chairman of the Energy, the Commerce State Justice Subcommittee Appropriations last week to get adequate funding to get it open, and Jeannie Shaheen is working, and Kelly Aya on the Senate side. There is, this is a problem that, of course, I inherited because the Congress didn't pass any appropriations last year, not a single one. The whole U.S. government, as we know, is running on a continuing resolution. You can't authorize new programs on a continuing resolution. And there are two such facilities in DOJ, Bureau of Prisons. One is in Mella something, California, and the other one, I want to say Melanoma, Mella something, California, and the other one is in Berlin, New Hampshire. And it is one of those byproducts of the failure of the Congress to do its business last year, which was to pass the 11 appropriation bills, and we're stuck. And needless to say, we've passed a no earmark provision in our House rules, so we have to go through the regular appropriations process, and it will, I'm confident, it will start operations on October 1. Yes. What am I going to do? How are we doing on time? We've got 5 minutes. Okay, let's have a 1 minute round. Can I just? Go ahead, start here. I'll get everybody, all right?
One idea on Medicare.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's two things. One is that there are doctors constantly writing letters to the editor talking about the ways they can save money by not doing a lot of procedures and so forth. And people in Congress need to start listening to these doctors. But the big thing that nobody's talking about is that we get heavily subsidized on Medicare. I get Medicare. I can afford to pay for Medicare. And you'll be able to afford to pay Medicare. We shouldn't be subsidized by the government. People that can afford to pay for Medicare and love it should pay for it. It's as simple as that.
And the Ryan proposal calls for means testing in Medicare. That's part of the proposal.
Yes, but I don't want to be paying millions of dollars to some CEO of a healthcare outfit, and I've dealt with those people in the past. They're terrible. I love Medicare. There aren't very many people on Medicare that don't love it. The government does a great job on insurance.
Go ahead. We're going to make this fast. I'm just going to say yeses and no's. Go ahead.
Thank you for coming. I heard you say a couple things. One, everything was on the table.
Right.
And I also heard you say, show me the spending cuts first.
That's right.
That implies you would consider some revenue growth.
Depends on what program, how well people do on the spending side.
I think there's been a lot of smart people from former chairman of the Fed, current chairman of the Fed, others said we must do something about revenue growth. So I believe it's both. But I am amazed that we're leaving the low-hanging fruit. You made a comment twice about more subsidies does not solve the problem. It doesn't, but it helps. It's almost like a coach, baseball coach, saying, I will not take a single. I'm going to only wait for a home run. Congress recently voted on oil subsidy and the standalone item and voted it down. Please fix that. Fix the tax loopholes, and let's take the singles as we build both cuts and revenue.
I will support the reductions or eliminations of subsidies that go only to oil companies. The vote that you referenced was far broader than that. The oil subsidy number itself is approximately $1.9 billion per year times 10, $19 billion. When you hear this $40 billion number, that's $40 billion savings over 10 years, or $10 billion a year. But they're talking about eliminating the manufacturer's tax credit for oil companies, which happens to apply to every single manufacturer in the country. I would question, at least in New Hampshire, in the New Hampshire Constitution, the constitutionality of such a thing under the Equal Protection Clause. But if you drill down, and that's a pun, to the specific issues that affect the oil industry, it's not as great as you think. And the sad thing about it is that we can't allow ourselves to say that foreign aid, the oil company subsidies, and the other ones, they're going to solve the problem. They aren't. They don't. It's 2%, or maybe 1% of the problem, and we can't Take it off the table. Tell me what the real tough decisions are here. Okay, let's go quick. I got to answer these faster. Go.
Yeah.
Actually, John, that's part of the question too. Is the administration of preparing policy on Yemen war removal? Because I know that came up as a resolution.
Yeah, well, I voted against, well, I don't know whether you say against or for, but against for the War Powers Act implementation on Libya, meaning the president has to come to Congress and get permission. I don't understand our mission there. We're not in Yemen, as far as I know at this point. Well, at least, all right. We shouldn't be here. Other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Question. I'm a little bit confused. I've heard you say several times that you believe everything should be on the table. Is that right? Did I mishear you?
No, you did not mishear me.
Okay. And then
That doesn't mean I support it, but everything should be on the table.
Okay. And then I just heard you say that you did sign the Northwest Pledge, which is a pledge that will not eliminate the Bush tax cuts. Can you explain how you can say everything's on the table?
Because I'm not going to vote to eliminate the Bush tax cuts, but if somebody comes to me with a plan that balances our budget, does it in a courageous manner that involves significant spending reductions, I'll consider anything else that's attached to that. I'm not going to tell you what it is or isn't because I haven't seen it yet. But I want everybody, and I'm waiting for others to tell me that the big programs in this country that are eating up most of our budget are also on the table.
So,
Waiting to hear that. I'm waiting and waiting.
So are you saying, look, the Bush tax cuts are on the table?
I would hate to repeal the Bush tax cuts because they would affect the lowest income wage earners in this country, people with children and people who are married, and that would be a tragedy. One last question before we're over. Who hasn't asked a question yet? You go ahead.
So everything's on the table, right? You know about the people's budget that was presented by the Progressive Caucus?
No.
So the people's budget presented the Progressive Caucus in the House presented the people's budget that is a courageous budget that balances and has everything on the table. I would recommend that you go read that document because it has all of these pieces that you're talking about without the limitations that I hear a lot of your colleagues and yourself talking about not doing. So it's looking at all of it's military, it's entitlements, it's all of our
I am guessing that the budget you're referencing actually did come up for a vote in the House. I would guess that it probably got about 80 votes out of 435 members, but I'm sure it is a courageous document. Bob, I'm going to turn over to you. I want to thank you all for being here tonight. I enjoyed it.
Fill out some of the questions and give them to Charlie's staff and keep communicating with them. Democracy. And one of the problems I see in Concord is politics is part of our government system. And the party system is part of it. And the voters out there are 50% independent, and the Republicans and Democrats make up the balance. But when you end up getting into government, it's two parties. And they seem to be divisive and not working together. And one of the things I know about Charlie is he will bend over backwards and work with the opposing party. And you've got to do that. Everyone in the legislature, Congress, and in Washington has got to work together. Or we're going to have, because we've got so many problems. And thank God I know only the ones in the state. And I learned something today. I never want to get hungry.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you very much, everyone. See you around, I'm sure. Oh, yes. Good to see you then, Paul. How are you doing? You signed the program? Yes, very good. Next one. Progressive budget.
The people's budget. You didn't see that?
Well, I probably voted against it.
You probably did, because everybody goes, oh, that's crazy.
Chuck
But you
Bennett
should-
is our leader. He lives right around here.
Yeah.
You know who he is?
No, I no.
My wife is crazy about him. She just had him there last week. He's wonderful. Remember, we were talking
Yeah,
about him.
absolutely. So go read them.
Fair enough, I will.
I mean, it's really a very broad, well thought out document. You can get it online.
Coming out. Good job.
But I didn't recognize you with your hat and no glasses.
I know, I don't have my collar on, I'm sorry.
Many years ago, during the first
Yeah, so it's Progressive Caucus.
64 years old and still talking at that time. It was a three-state case. That's why nobody wanted to do it. And your office got somebody within a week.
I'd love to hear those stories. Well, thank you. Take care. You certainly may.
I'll be in touch.
Okay, take care,
I
Dave.
got this in the mail.
Thank you.
I know it didn't come out of your office.
111th, listen to Henry, 11th Congress, boy, they shut the door. Literally locked the door.
Yeah, well, I agree. It's coming from
Everything was done.
ads going on the television right now that says that I'm voted to end Medicare, which is absolutely totally false.
And now
Both sides are doing it, and I think it's wrong. I agree with you.
And they
I agree.
everybody.
I agree.
You don't agree with this, then maybe you could.
I don't agree. I don't agree with any of it. I say that publicly. None of it.
From the
Both
people that
sides.
swatted everybody
Take
else
care.
down when they were in
Bye,
power.
Peggy.
I tell you, that may be, it doesn't mean I have to tolerate it, does it?
So let's try to get them to talk to us. That's what I said.
Well, who on the Democrat side is offering?
Oh, the Democrats have offered also too.
Oh, yeah, they offer all kinds of goddamn slogans and talking points, but not one of them has come up with the numbers. That's the problem.
That's not true.
Well, boy, tell me who has. Tell me who has. I mean, I've read summaries of the Bryan budget, and at least it addresses everything. I haven't
The people's
heard.
budget addresses everything. It is,
That's why I hate the
it's a very good, well thought out measure.
Good evening. Right
I did.